In this video, we'll show you how to replace the grille shutter assembly on your Ford Edge. This is located in the front of the vehicle and right behind the bumper cover. Let's get started. With the vehicle raised and supported, we can remove the lug nuts with a 21mm. And we can go ahead and remove the wheel. Starting on the front side of the vehicle, we have 6 5.5mm that we need to remove. Moving inwards on the vehicle, we have 2 8mm bolts we need to remove. It looks like this front one is broken, but we can certainly remove this one right here. We normally have a clip up top here. It looks like that broke off at some point. To remove that, you just use a flathead screwdriver, pull the center part of the clip out first, and then the outer part. Going from the fender liner to the front bumper, we have 2 more 5.5mm. And we can do the same on the other side. On the outer edge of the front bumper, we have this lower panel. We'll remove these 2 5mm screws here on the outer edge of the front bumper. And we have the same 2 on the other side. In this recess in the front cover here, we should have a Torx bit screw. It looks like we have another 5.5 in our case. We can do the same with the other recess. On the front side here, we have 6 5.5mm screws. We have another D-shaped recess like this. We're going to remove the screws from those as well on either side. With all our hardware removed, we can go ahead and drop down the panel. On the driver's side of the vehicle, we have a few electrical connectors we need to undo. Starting out down bottom, we can press in on the tab and pop that out. You always want to check any of your terminals for corrosion or damage. We're going to continue up. It's the same to disconnect each of these. Simply press in on the tab and pull out. Now I'm going to use a fork type trim tool to go ahead and remove these connectors. If you don't have one of these, you can certainly use a flathead screwdriver. Then we have another piece of the wiring harness behind that. We'll do that as well. And we can do the same with the connectors on the other side. Looking up towards the front of the driver's side fender, we are looking at 3 8mm bolts. We'll go ahead and remove those as well. And we can do the same with those 3 on the other side. Moving up to the top of the front bumper, right in front of the engine bay, we have some plastic clips we need to remove along the front. I'm using a clip tool. You can certainly use a flathead screwdriver for this. You can pop the center out, and then the clip can actually just stay in the panel. There should be a clip here at the end, as well as along the back side. Ours is missing, unfortunately. And go ahead and remove the panel. With that panel out of the way, we have 6 10mm to remove on the front bumper here. Pull down on each of the front corners. And we can remove the bumper cover. Up top, we have 4 10mm bolts we need to remove. Looking at the back side of the grille shutter, we have a 10mm facing towards the front of the vehicle that we need to remove on either side. The other side, there's a little less space, so I'm going to use a ratcheting wrench. We have 2 clips on either side here. And we can do the same on the other side. We have a couple of clips here holding on the wiring harness. There's a small tab on the back side of the electrical connector. We'll press in on that while pulling out. Always check your terminals for any damage or corrosion. Starting at the end of our grille shutter wiring harness here, you can pop the clips off. And we're just going to follow the wiring harness up until it's fully removed from the grille shutter. We have a clip right in front of the corner of the headlight here up top. We can remove the same one on the other side as well. Now you can pick up on the top on either side. There's a little tab that you need to bring it over. Looking at the back side of the grille shutter, there is a Y-shaped plastic piece and it has 3 7mm holding it in. We'll go ahead and remove those as well. And we can do the same with the other 2. Up top here we have 2 tabs. We'll push out on the tabs and release the bracket. We'll do the same on either side of the Y piece. Now we can drop the shutter assembly down and remove it from the vehicle. Looking at the back of the grille shutter, this is the lower side here. We're going to push in on the tabs. We can start to lift up. We can remove this Y piece and transfer it over to our new shutter. Next, we need to remove the plastic piece that goes across our front impact absorber. There's a few tabs on the inside. We'll push inward with these and start to pull out with the plastic piece. If the tabs are a little difficult to push on, you can certainly use a flathead screwdriver. And we can transfer this over to the shutters. Now we have some plastic clips that we need to pull off in order to transfer this shroud over to the new shutter. I'm going to be using a clip tool for this. You can certainly use a flathead screwdriver though. We'll pop each of those out. And line up all of your clip holes and start pushing in on each clip. Now we can line up all of our tabs with our bumper piece onto the shutter. Once they're all lined up, you can start to press down and lock them in. Working on the back side of the shutter, we can get our Y piece that connects the lower shutter to the upper shutter in. Get the lower tabs lined up and push down. Now that's ready to go on the car. As we install the shutter, we need to take the Y piece that's on the back, flex it out towards the back of the car just a little bit. Then we can feed that up with the shutter. Now we'll push each side of the plastic Y piece on either side of the hood latch onto the little cross piece on the shutter. Make sure that locks into place and do the same on the other side. On the back side of that Y piece, we need to install 2 of our bolts here into the back. We'll get each of those started in. And we can snug those both down. We have 2 hooks up top. We can get the grill shutter lined up and then push and get it onto the hooks. We can get our shroud pieces on either side of the shutter, push in on the clips. And we can do the same on the other side. We can start to get the shutter wiring harness back on. Press in on each of the clips here. We can get the connector for the shutters back in. When you press that in, make sure it's fully seated and won't pull back out. Get the connector for the hood latch back on. And once again, make sure that fully seats and won't pull back off. Down on the passenger side, we find the temperature sensor. That wraps around and goes inside the shutter and back into its clip home. We can get the bolts in on either side of the shutter. Snug that down, and we can do the same on the other side. We can start to get the front bumper lined up on the vehicle. Start in the center and work your way over to the side. Once under the headlight is lined up, then you can get it lined up with the fender. Running along the top of the front bumper, we're going to go ahead and get the bolts in for the front bumper as well as the shutters. I'm going to run through and get all of these started before I tighten any of them down. We can tighten those ones down for the grille shutter. Same as the shutter, I'm going to get all of these in for the bumper, and then we can tighten them down all together. And we can snug those down. You can install the shroud that goes over the front bumper and hood latch. We'll start pressing in each of the clips. You can install the center of each clip and press down. Looking inside the fender well, we can get the 3 pieces of hardware in. We can snug those down. And we can do the same on the other side. In the driver's side fender liner, we have a few electrical connectors to plug back in. You want to make sure that they're fully seated and not going to pull back out. You can get the horns plugged back in. We can get the frontward piece of plastic inserted into the front bumper. We'll just get a couple of the screws started in to hold it up, and then I get the rest in. We can start to get the fender liner back up in place. We can install the screws into the front side of the fender. And we can do the same on the other side. And we can line up the lug studs with the holes in the wheel. I'm going to press in down at the bottom of the wheel. We can install the lug nuts. I like to thread the first one all the way in, and that'll help hold the wheel in while I put the other lug nuts on. And we'll snug those down in a star pattern. With the vehicle on the ground, we can go ahead and torque these to 162 foot-pounds in a star pattern.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.